What's up, college football fans? Welcome to another QB Spotlight video podcast. Wherever you are taking us in, we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. And again, this is a place where we talk all things quarterbacks, just a big quarterback hub. And today we got a special guest, Dan Ellington, former Georgia State quarterback and now current tight end coach at Georgia State. And I'm excited into everything, kind of talk about his path and what he has going on now. But Dan, before we dive into all that and before we kind of get in the weeds of things, do people still bring up that Tennessee game from 2019? Is that still something that people always talk about when y'all won 38-30?
Yeah, that's one of the best games I've probably ever been in. Pretty much all my friends still bring it up everywhere I go in Atlanta, and everybody knows if I went to Georgia State or played at Georgia State, they always bring up that one game. So it's special to be part of history at Georgia State, winning that first Power Five game. Uh, but it's one game everybody does bring back up.
Yeah, I remember watching that game. Here at QB Spotlight, we cover a lot of G5 quarterbacks. We just try to give some love to the G5 quarterbacks. And I remember watching that
Mm-hmm.
game, and I believe you scored a rushing touchdown at the very end to take the lead, right? Or kind of have a commanding lead at the very end. Is that kind of how the game kind of turned at the end?
Yeah, we ran zone read, out of 12 personnel. We actually was running that one play for pretty much that whole drive.
Mm.
And the one time that defensive end crashed, I pulled it and just made a play out of it. But it was a really a good play call by OC, and everybody else just executed.
Yeah, and for those that don't know or didn't watch Dan play as a great quarterback at Georgia State, had over 40 total touchdowns at Georgia State. I think led Georgia State to, was it y'all's first bowl game or one of the
No,
first
it was actually I want to say it was the third bowl game.
third bowl game? It was
Yeah,
y'all's first winning in a while though, if I remember, or it was like coming off kind of a rough season. Y'all led them to
yeah,
a bowl game. Yeah. So, and I
yeah.
also remember you playing bowl game with a torn ACL. Is that right? Or a torn ligament in your knee the last bowl game of your career. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was a torn ACL, and
Okay.
parts of my meniscus was torn just a little bit. But yeah, I want to say I played 5 games on my knee, banged up.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, it was some painful experiences, but I mean, if I had to go back and change it, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I still do the exact same thing, make the exact same decision I did. But it,
Yeah.
it was, yep, I played 5 games on my knee.
So being a former Division I starting quarterback,
Yep.
from the outside looking in, it's easy for people to be like, man, like he was a D1 quarterback, he's coaching at a D1 school, like what a great career he's got going on. But before we get to what you're doing now, and before we talk about
Yeah.
maybe your playing career more, take us through like your upbringing and kind of you went the judo route. You had to really hustle and grind to get to where you're at now. So if you don't mind just kind of like
Yeah.
showing us and letting us into what it took to get you to where you are now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it all started in high school with playing for Coach Alan Peacock here at Center Hill High School in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Uh, every Division I school was coming by and it's like, hey, we want him to play safety or receiver. Uh, it was like my junior year, and I was telling coach, I was like, I don't want to play those positions. I want to be a quarterback. And he sat down with me and told me my options. And we sat down and had a really good deep conversation. Um, and the conversation ended out, hey, we may have to go junior college because these schools don't want you to play quarterback. I had some great issues also. I didn't really take school serious my ninth grade year because I didn't know about the, hey, you got to have a 2 point something to get to play Division I football. Uh, so I ended up going junior college out of high school. Went to Ellington Community College, played for Sean Cannon. He's my head coach there. Played for Nick Coleman, who's now the quarterbacks coach at UAB. He was the OC and quarterbacks coach my freshman year. And then my sophomore year, we had got a new OC, Chad Cook, and he came in. We pretty much ran the same offense as Coach Coleman, and the rest was history. I was committed to Central Arkansas for pretty much my whole sophomore season at Itawamba. Uh, And then I was actually on another visit, and I got a phone call from Coach Sean Elliott at Georgia State, our head football coach. And he's like, Dan, I think it's an opportunity for you here. I want you to come see the place. And, we booked the flight the next weekend. I was on the way to Atlanta. Uh, and I got there. I saw the vision. I believed every word Coach Elliott was saying, and every word he said came true. I was all Sun Belt. We went to a bowl game. I started for 2 years. Broke some records there. So I mean, everything he said, he said I was going to have the chance to start. I was going to have the chance to take the team to a bowl game, be all conference, and everything he said it was true. And you know, I was looking into his eyes while we had our one-on-one conversation, and I knew he was a man that he meant he was true by his word. He wasn't one of these other coaches that was going to BS you and tell you how good you were. He was going to tell you straight up, and that's one of the reasons why I love Coach Elliott to this day.
Mm. That's a cool story, Dan. When did you realize, like, obviously, playing JUCO, you're trying to fight to get back to that Division I level. When did you realize?
Yep.
Was it not till you got to Georgia State, or you knew you could play, but did it take like a game or two where you had a few touchdowns? You're like, you know what? Like, I can ball at this level. Like, I'm pretty good at this Division I level. Did it take a few games to get into it, or like the first practices at Georgia State? When did you kind of realize, like, hey, I can do this thing. I'm pretty damn good here.
Yeah, it was actually, I think it was my freshman year at Awamba Community College. We brought when I got there to Awamba that summer, they brought in a transfer from Washington State named Peyton Bender. Um, and at the time, they didn't tell me they was going to do this or nothing. But my dad, I talked to my dad about it, and he was like, "Hey, look, if you can compete with him, then you can compete. You can play at the Division I level because he
Mm.
just came from Division I. So if you can compete with him and beat him out, then you should be there. That right there will tell you all you need to know. And that right there, I mean, it set that stuck with me because I'm a competitor. I wanted to beat him in everything that we did. We still good friends to this day, me and Peyton. But we both competed at fall camp. I got the nod that I was going to start the first game of the year against Mississippi Gulf Coast, who was like number 4 in the nation at the time. And I got the start, and we led the team. We ended up winning the game 23-12, I think. Uh, I think I had like maybe three total touchdowns for like 250 yards total. So when that happened right there, I played against some Division I guys like Isaiah Buggs. He's like ranked number 1 nationally. Now he plays for the Detroit Lions. He signed with Alabama. So when I had that game, I had against all those Division I athletes on the field. I knew I was like, I think I'm ready. I know I'm ready to play Division I ball.
Yeah.
I just knew once I got to Georgia State, I just had to. All right, now you got to prove to everybody here who you are and what you're about. And that was my whole thing when I first got to Georgia State. Just to gain the respect and show everybody that I can actually play ball.
Yeah. So you had a great career at Georgia State, over 40 career touchdowns, rushing and passing, records, all conference, a lot of great accolades, all that stuff. When did you realize that you wanted to go into coaching? During your senior year playing at Georgia State, did you have any desire or any hopes to go play after Georgia State, or did you always want to kind of get into coaching and go that route?
Well, I knew I wanted to be a football coach. I think I was in my sophomore year in high school. Uh, because it was always I watched Friday Night Lights a little bit, and I seen Boobie Miles get his knee hurt. He didn't have a backup
Mm-hmm.
plan, and I started talking with my dad like that. After football, I went down there a backup plan. He was like, "Yeah, you are." So so I got to tell us like I got to think a little bit. My high school head coach was a big influence in my life. I was like, I want to be a coach. I was like, that's exactly what I'm gonna be after I get done playing football. I want to be a coach. Never knew when the day was gonna end, but I wanted to be a coach. Now the goal was always to get to the NFL. That was always the goal. But I knew like once those days end, once I'm done and I can hang the cleats up, I want to be a football coach.
So,
And
so, okay, so you always knew you wanted to be a football coach. After
Mhm.
your senior year happens, was that an easy transition? Did you right into it? Were you kind of like flirting with different ideas? Take me through
Yeah,
that process.
that process was it was kind of hard actually. I was going through rehab with my knee. I had just had surgery, and so I was going through rehab about 2 or 3 weeks in, and our running backs coach at Georgia State had left and took the Arkansas running backs coaching job. Uh, so we had a opening in our staff, and our offensive coordinator texts me. He's like, "Hey, what would you think if you came on board the coach?" And me, I was just like, I think they want me to be a GA, and he's like, "No, you'll be like an action ball coach." And I was like, "That's something I have to think about." Blah blah blah. So I go to treatment to rehab the very next day, and I get a text message from Coach Elliott. It was like, "Hey, come see me when you're done with rehab." And I was like, "Yes, sir." So I'm not thinking it's about nothing with coaching. I'm thinking it's about the NFL. Like people have contacted him and all that stuff. But I after rehab, I go in his office. We sit down. We close the door. We get to talk about my future. He was like, "I know you want to go play ball." He said, "I know you want to do it." He said, "But the opportunity that I'm about to," he offered me the job, the running back's job. He's like, "I know you want to play." He said, "Just continue. Just think about it a little bit." He said, "But this is a really, really good opportunity for you here to get it started early because a lot of people want to be in your shoes right now." So I think it took me about 2 or 3 days. I talked to my dad, talked to my uncles, my high school head coach, and called Coach Elliott back and told him like, "Hey, Coach, I want to do it. I want to accept the job." And this was like in February. I haven't even graduated yet, and he was like, "Okay." He said, "Just graduate. I don't want you to come to no off season stuff." He said, "I want you to be right out being a college student because you never got the experience of being a college student." Um, and it was in 2020 when COVID happened, so I only got like 2 or 3 weeks to live the college student life. But yeah, I accepted the job like in I want to say February. Nobody actually really knew about it until like May 15th. Is that's when I graduated because that's when they released it. Uh, when I actually graduated.
Very, very cool. You started off as the running backs coach. When did you transition to? Are you still currently the tight ends coach right now? I know you
Yes.
transitioned to that. Okay, so did it
Mhm.
take a year or two? Is that was that kind of new, or was it easy from running back to the tight end coach?
Yeah, it was actually it was my I think it's my second year. After my second year of full time coaching, after
Okay.
my second year coaching the running backs, our OC left and took the job at Virginia Tech, and our tight ends coach got got he got pronounced as the OC and quarterbacks coach. And then Coach Elliott made the switch. He was like, "Dang, you're gonna go coach tight ends," and one of our GAs was coach the running backs. And I've been coaching the tight ends ever since. It's been a really good transition, a really good learning experiment. But I love coaching it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fun position to coach. You gotta know a lot. You gotta know exactly, because everything can change like in a quicker eye for the tight end for the look. But it's so fun. I got a great group of
Mm-hmm.
guys. We have fun every single day, but it's a really fun position to coach.
It sounds like it's been a really good transition from you. Just from listening to you talk, it sounds like coaches, your dad they've all played a big role and influence in your life, and now
Yeah.
you're able to play that role to kids who are probably just a few years younger than you now. Now, like you're probably like a big brother figure to several of these guys. Am I right in kind of
Hmm.
going about that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because the class last year, that same class last year, I played with those guys when they were freshmen.
Mm,
So it is kind of crazy, but I like being a young coach because
yep.
I can relate to the guys. I got the energy to do what to stay up at the office. Uh, I can show them stuff on the field how I want it done. Um, and it's just really good at recruiting also, being a
Yep.
young guy and relating to the players and all that good stuff.
Speaking of recruiting, we were talking a little bit about recruiting before we jumped
Hmm.
on. Can you give an insight? What your day looks like as far as just recruiting goes. Like take us through like
Yeah.
summer now. You have downtime, but then like what it looks like in the summer, in the season, and the off season. Just recruiting. What does a day look like for you being the tight ends coach and of course recruiting?
So like right now in the summer, you go to a lot of camps, and our recruiting guy Matt Brendan, he does a really good job of telling us like, hey guys, these are the guys you need to go look at. Uh, so he gives me my position. So I have a sheet that says all my tight ends that I need to go look at, pretty much in the southeast because that's all we recruit. Uh, so he gives us a list, and then we just go watch the guys and see if we like them or not. And let's just say we're going to a camp. He would have everybody at the camp and he would tell you, "Hey, these are the guys you need to look at in your position." And you just eval them at the camp. You get the offensive coordinator to watch them. Once he approves of them, you get Coach Elliott approves of them, and we'll throw an offer out there. But it's an everyday going process. I mean, even in the summer, you still got to text guys, call guys, FaceTime guys, get them on campus if you can at the month of June because that's the period they can get on campus. The July period is when they cannot get on campus. It's a dead period. So the month of June is a big month because you can get out and see guys run, and get out and meet them at some extent, uh, and you can just you can see how they play and how they compete. That's my biggest thing, man. If you can compete, if you're a competitor, and you got the work ethic, then you're gonna be a real good football player. You gotta have some dogs when you play this
You
sport.
is it this is just out of curiosity, is it tough to recruit someone off his highlight tape when you can't see him in person? Like obviously seeing someone in person is a preference.
Yeah,
Like would you want to see someone in person before you offer, unless it's like some big star recruit or something?
no doubt. Yes and no.
Okay.
The only reason why you would want to see a guy, to be honest, after you don't watch his film, and just to see does the size match up of what you just saw on film, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
if a coach says he's 6'3" and 225, but the film don't show that, you know, I don't want to see the kid in person because I want to see, is this coach telling the truth or is this coach,
Yep.
just pushing him to get offers? But you got some coaches out there that will tell you the truth and you got really good relationship with them that you can trust.
Right.
That if the coach tell you, hey, coach, he's a legit 6'3", 225, then I don't really need to see the kid in person because I trust this coach. But most of it, you just want to verify the size to see him in person.
Yep.
But it's different at all. It's different at all positions because let's say for a quarterback, for example, uh, yeah, he can throw it on film. He can run around. He's making plays, throwing it on the film. But like, I want to see how his throw motion is in person. You know what I mean? I want to see what type of how's his feet in person. I want to see how he moves in my drills, and all that good stuff. How is he gonna throw routes on there? Is he a bad routes on that field? How's the ball coming out of his hands? It's different for every sport. Like a receiver, I know our receivers coach love to get guys in camp because he wants to see, can they break off cuts? How are they breaking off their cuts? Can they move and change? How they're moving, change directions? Because it's not all about speed at that position.
Right.
Yes, we like to have it. He wants to see the ball skills of guys like that. So it's more to it. And like old linemen, you want to see if they got heavy feet or not. How well can they bend? You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
you can see it on tape, but you can see it in person. So I mean, it's just different, really, really different positions. Where what they want to see when they come in person that the film
Right.
don't show.
Yeah, no, that's good insight, and I know you spend a lot of time recruiting the tight ends and working with tight ends, but obviously you're a
Mm-hmm.
quarterback at heart, and once a quarterback, always a quarterback. I played
No,
small
no
level
doubt.
college football, and my only touchdown, Dan, was actually to the other team. If that tells you how good I was, so not very successful. But with that said, what are some traits that you look for in a quarterback, whether you're watching a game, recruiting someone, or just your own team that you're working with? What are some of the traits? You mentioned be a competitor and be a dog. Like that
Yeah.
applies at the quarterback position as well. But just some traits and stuff you look for when evaluating a quarterback.
Yeah, when I evaluate cues, I like to see how calm and calm they are. Especially when I go to their games, to watch them live at games. Let me see how calm this kid is. When things go bad, even when things are going good for you. I want to see how calm he is. How is he going to take it? Take some aggressive. Some adversity. Yeah, I just want to see how calm he is and how he's gonna, how the team's gonna react to him. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody's looking at the quarterback, so I want to see how he's gonna react, so the team react towards him. And another thing I like to look at, how fast is that ball coming out of the Q's hand? If you got a quick release, I love Q's that play baseball. If they
Mm,
play baseball, I kind of automatically just fall in love with them right there because I know they got a quick release. I know they can throw it off different arm angles, which in today's game you need sometimes. I'm not saying you
mm,
need to throw it off different arm angles every single time, but sometimes you need to throw it off different arm angles. That's what I believe in. I did it. You see people doing it now. Um,
mm,
so if you can throw different arm angles, I think that's another advantage to your game. I think that's the thing you can put in your toolbox. I like to see how I love a tough runner. That's just how I was built. That's how I
mm.
played. I was a tough
Yeah.
runner, and I grew up watching tough runners like Tebow, Cam Newton, Dak Prescott, uh, Alex Smith when he was at Utah,
Mm,
uh, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Watson. So I grew up watching tough quarterbacks run, and
mm,
also they can throw it. So I love to watch dual threat guys, and just seeing how well that ball come off their hands, and how they are respected by their teammates. I love to
mm,
see stuff like that.
mm. That's good. Speaking of threat quarterbacks, y'all got a pretty good dual threat quarterback yourself at
We
Georgia
do.
State. Can you speak on him a little bit and just kind of what makes him so good and the steps he's taking and the season coming up?
Say that one more time. The last part.
Okay, just if you could speak on what makes him so good, the steps that he's continuing to take, and what y'all are
Mhm.
expecting in 2023.
Yeah, DG's done a really good job, man, coming in, and from the first time he came in, we knew he was a really good player, uh, but we knew it was going to take him some time to learn the playbook and learn the ins and outs of it. And I think he's done a really good job with Coach McKnight, his quarterbacks coach and our offensive coordinator, done a really good job of just sitting with him and studying and learning each and every day on what to do when when the defense takes away something. Is that how do
Yeah.
I need to where do I need to go with the football? Uh, he can get out anything with his legs, get out any situation with his legs. He can make plays with his legs. He's a tough runner. Freaking last year against ODU, he got literally bent over, and I thought he
Mm,
was towards ACL. He popped right back up and
mm,
ran the ball the very next play. So he's a tough kid. Played in the Southern Miss game with I think with a bruised ankle, a bruised foot, some of that stint, and had like a 70-yard run with that bruised foot. And you can see the toughness. Uh, he comes in every single day ready to work. It's never a
mm,
day where DG is mad, sad, anything like that. He is like it's never a day where he's going to come in and not want to be there. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always ready to work, and he's always leading his teammates. He's gotten so much better fundamentally. Uh, stand on top of his drop while he's in the podcast. He's done a really good job of just doing that. It was a bad habit for him when he wasn't. It kind of got him off accurate a little bit because he would want to get back into the pocket with all the big guys. Like Midnight had, hey, just stay on top of your drop while all the bad guys away from you. Move
mm,
when you're forced to move. Don't move. It was a big thing for Coach Midnight was don't move when you don't have to. If you're on top of your
mm,
drop, stay on top of your drop. Let the defenders make you move. And I thought he did a really good job of that this past year. And he's doing really, this past year was his first full season starting for us. And then you can just see how better he was getting at the deep ball, at the play action stuff that we was doing. And, we already knew he was a good runner, so that just got him even better at some stuff like that. And he's just doing a really good job as leading us.
Yeah, Granger sounds like a quarterback that you just described what you look for in a quarterback, right? Before I asked you about him, you described I want a tough guy that can run, that can throw from all
Yeah,
angles, competitive. That sounds exactly like him, right? What you just
yeah.
described sounds like.
And he's that guy. I mean, he really is, and he's a smart player. Me and him joke about it every single day. He done broke some of my records, but I tell him every single day, I was like, it's one record that you're probably not going to beat, and it's the career percentage one. He always joke around and say, I don't think I'm going to get that one either. So, uh, he wants to beat it so bad, so he's working
Yeah,
every single day to get it.
man, that's great. You can still go down and spin it, huh, Coach? I can imagine you still go down and spin it a little bit.
I like to spin it every now and then. I
Yeah,
like to get out there and throw it around.
just show them you still
My
got it.
yeah. Yep.
Man, well, Coach Ellington, one more question I want to touch on before we get out of here, and thanks again so much for jumping on with us. What is one piece
Anytime.
of advice? What's one piece of advice you would give to young quarterbacks in general, and then just quarterbacks going through the recruitment process, like with
Yep.
everything that you've been through and you've learned, and now you're coaching and recruiting side of things? What's some advice you would give to younger cats?
Mm.
I think I lost you for a second, Coach. Can you hear me? There you go. We're back on. We're good.
It's, there you go. You got me.
I think. Got you, coach. Got you, coach. Just a little pause. We're all good. But yeah, just
Got
touching
you.
on advice you'd give younger quarterbacks.
Oh,
Yep.
yep. My advice, it always starts with school. Don't be in that position where you have to go to junior college because of your grades, especially if you're a heck of a really really good player. Uh, make sure you take your school very very serious as soon as you get to high school, because every grade matters. Make sure that is not a problem. So make sure you handle your business in the classroom. So when we coaches come there and try to recruit you, we don't have to waste our time making that draft because of your grades are not what they should be. So that'll be my very first thing. Just make sure you're doing handling your business in the classroom. And if you handle your business in the classroom, everything outside the classroom would be just fine. My second piece of advice is to not to go to all these not to go all these camps that you're not invited to.
Mm,
Um, and just waste money. If you're getting an invite to camps, go to the camps. But if you're not getting these invites to camps, don't go and waste your money, because 9 times out of 10, those coaches are probably not going to look at you. They're probably going to put
mm,
you in some group that they're not looking at. They're not recruiting. So go to where guys want to see you. Um, and see you throw and see you how you compete. And my third advice, just get a make if you can afford it, get a QB trainer.
mm,
Um,
mm,
I think working with a QB trainer outside your quarterback coach helps you a long way. I
mm,
think you get so much further ahead if you get a quarterback trainer at such a young age, because now he can get you right fundamentally.
yeah.
I think a lot of guys now, especially they want to be skint. They want to be a really good play caller. Uh, you still got some guys out there that get you better fundamentally, but I think if you get a guy, let's say you're an eighth grader going to ninth grade, I think you should get a quarterback coach ASAP.
Mm, mm,
Because I think he can get you better fundamentally and make sure you get a good one. But get you a quarterback one that can get you better fundamentally, and just stick to him for the rest of your career, because he's gonna know what you need to work on, probably more than the college. more than anybody, because you've been with him for so long. I
Yep.
wish I would have. I wish I would have got my been with my QB trainer when I was an eighth grade. I didn't get with mine until I think my sophomore year of college. But
Hmm.
I think if I was with him longer, I would have been a really good player fundamentally because I thought that helped me so much, man. I mean, so
Yep.
much from the pocket standpoint, from going on the run standpoint, from just your base as a quarterback standpoint. I think, just little stuff too, man. I mean, those guys just see the little simple things that they can get you better at and make them all come out even a little bit, a tenth faster. So that'll be my three biggest advice.
That's good. Who was your quarterback trainer, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
So I did QB country. Thomas
Yep.
Morris was my guy. He's out of Nashville and Memphis. So
Yep.
I went. He used to come to Memphis a good little bit to stay with his brother, one of his brothers here, and I used to train with him Friday through Sunday.
Hmm.
He'd get here on Thursday night. We'd train Friday morning, Saturday evening, and then Sunday morning, we'll train again, and then he'll get back out and go to Nashville.
Hmm.
And then sometimes I used to go to Nashville and train with him
Yeah.
there. But yep, QB country was.
Yeah, that's cool. You mentioned that there's a lot of good quarterback trainers out there like QB Country's doing
Mm-hmm.
a really good job, and that's advice from school to going to where you wanted for camps, and then finding a quarterback trainer that really helps
Yep.
develop you. So, Coach Ellington, thank you so much for jumping on. You're so gracious with your time, and hey, we're big Georgia
Mm-hmm.
State fans now down here, and
No doubt.
so we'll be pulling for y'all, and can't wait for the 2023 season. Thank you again so much, Coach. We'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, subscribe, like, all that YouTube stuff. Let us know what y'all's thoughts are below, and we'll see you next time. Peace.